Diaspora Investor Hub here. I'm here to discuss something that maybe that I've been thinking loud about it, but I've been thinking, how do you tell that you've been out of the country for too long? Because this is one of the things that we need to change if you're in diaspora, to realize that the way we know Kenya or the way we left Kenya is not the way it is. And the experiences that we've gone outside this country may have really shifted and thought maybe Kenya should at par with where we live. But that's not the case. We really have to really tone down a little bit, get down to where we came from, how we came up, how we grew up, so we can be able to resonate with the country that we are talking about, the country that we are born and raised up. We were brought up in Leicester. You went to a school that was built by someone else. You are trained by a teacher who was trained by the government, and we all have a reason to give back to that country. But when we go back to Kenya, we don't go for long. Sometimes we visit there for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Maybe you have a death in the family or a social event or a vacation. So typically, it's about 3 to 4 weeks. And when you account the time for jet lag, you basically have less than that living time in Kenya. So you don't get to see a whole lot or do a whole lot. So we don't really get a good touch of how the country has changed. And the little that we know, maybe from social media or the people we interact with, make us have a bad feeling about Kenya. And you'll be like, but we think we are gone, but we are not gone forever because our people are back there. So how do you tell that you've been in Kenya for too long? When you go back there, and some things take longer than they do. Typical Kenyans don't keep time. When people tell you that they're on their way to meet you, but they haven't even left their house, and you'll be like, you wait, and you become impatient. Or when some things are just disruptive, like let's say you want to go to Nyao House and do something, and the things just drag, and you have to be asked for kitu kidogo to get things going, and you'll be like, and they don't keep their promises, and actually not even promises, but they don't communicate very well. So you are lost, you are kept in limbo, you don't know what's going to happen. So, and it can be very, very frustrating. So again, when you look at yourself today and you see you are graying out, and when you left Kenya, you are full of black hair, you realize that your time has been spent out of that country. It even gets worse when you go back home and you don't recognize some of your family members, like nieces, nephews who've been born since you left, your in-laws, people who got married or remarried, people who divorced. Then you also miss a lot of your friends that you grew up, maybe they married or they moved out of the place that you were born. So all you see are grave sites. When you walk around the neighborhood, you see some places and be like, oh, okay, that person died. So those are the kind of things that remind us. What about when you don't understand the new lingo and you're trying to understand what people are talking about, but everybody is laughing but you, and sometimes you have to ask the person next to you or your buddy, like, what's going on here? So before you get to know what's going on, you're always a step behind, and that's when you'll be like, maybe this place, Kenya has left me, or I have left Kenya in terms of thinking and how we do things. What about when you don't recognize new music or new musicians? You'll be like, oh, this is a guy, or like you are used to the old music that you left, but music has transitioned in Kenya. So if you're not keeping tab with what's going on, you're gonna be lost. And what about if you go to a club and you see people ordering mizingas, and you'll be like, really, holy cow, people are ordering a whole mzinga for themselves. But where we are, that typically don't happen. People here take tots, but you're like, okay, but buying a tot in some of your drinks that you like, it's not even possible because the bars won't even allow that to happen. What about you don't have an M-Pesa number? M-Pesa is the new life in Kenya. It pays for everything. It pays for every bill. What about if you don't understand things like pay bill and till numbers of Safaricom? And Safaricom is the way of doing business in Kenya. If you don't have that, people, things in Kenya moves very fast. People right now don't use paper money anymore. Everything is done through M-Pesa, pay bill, and till number. What about when you don't recognize some of your friends? They've maybe aged. They have a lot of things have happened. Maybe a lot of things do happen. You'll be like, oh, I don't recognize any of that. And what about if you try to call a person and they are not available, and you can, the way you used to be to knock on people's doors when you didn't even know them. You can't do that anymore. People now have cell phones, they have other communications, all that good stuff. So this is a kind of mindset that we need to change for us to be able to relate well with the place that we call home and the place that we want to go back to. So it's a complete mindset before we decide if we're going to go back to Kenya. It's going to be about 5 to 10 year plan, visiting Kenya more often, talking to people, opening new relationships, because the old relationships may be gone. Thank you so much. David Macharia Karanja here, Diaspora Investor Hub. We're going to be exploring a lot of these things. Asanteni.